Hi class, we are preparing for our first test tomorrow. This is the 1A test that we will be taking. I'm going to go through all the problems. Now my format is a little different than yours, only because I can zoom in. So with your format, I gave you enough room so that you had room to write. Now I know some of you are done, but in case you're not, or in case you want to check your work, or maybe you want to know why or how I got my answer, I'm going to go through that step, okay? So the first question, or first set of questions, the directions are find the solutions to each equation. What value of x makes the equation true? So even though it's asking what value of x makes the equation true, we're still just solving for x. Okay, so like I've told you before, I highlight, it'll help some of you to highlight the numbers that have the variable. That means everything that's not highlighted are also considered like terms. So everything that is highlighted is like terms, everything not highlighted is considered a like term. That means we need to put those together. Now, the question now is, do we move over the 5 or the negative 37? Do not move over the negative 37. If you do, you won't have anything on the right side. So what we want to do is we want to move over the 5. What's the opposite of adding 5? Subtracting 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. That gives us negative 7x equals negative 37 minus 5 gives us a negative 42. All right, I'm going to highlight that x again. And if you notice, there's only one number that has an x and only one number that doesn't, and that's what we want. We want one of each. Our last step is to divide by negative 7. And here we get that x has the value of 6. All right, on the right side, we have another one we're going to do. This one has a fraction, but just like the first one, I'm going to highlight the number that has a variable or a letter. Again, anything that's not highlighted, that needs to be put together. So, again, you don't want to move over the 6 because if we do, we won't have anything on the right side. You want to keep something on each side. What's the opposite of subtracting 4? Subtracting 24 is what I meant. Adding 24. So the 24s are going to cancel out. We're left with k over 2 equals. This is going to give us 18. All right, so still highlighting that k. All right, k is being divided by 2. What's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. Good. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And here the 2's are going to cancel out. These cancel out. You're left with k equals, and this is going to give me 36. All right, so first one didn't have a fraction, second one did. If we look at number 3 has the parentheses, and we practice a lot of these parentheses. So remember, anytime you have a number in front of your parentheses, we have to distribute. So you have to multiply 0.75 times 8. 0.75 times 8 is 6x. 0.75 times negative 10 times negative 10 is going to give me a negative 7.5. We're going to bring down the 34.5. All right, just like the other problems, I'm going to highlight the ones that have an x, and only one does. That means all my variables that have x's are together. All the ones that are not highlighted, those need to be put together. So what is the opposite of subtracting 7.5? Adding 7.5, right? So we're going to add 7.5 to both sides. And we get 42 is equal to, and that cancels out. We're left with 6x. All right, our last step is to divide. Good. What do we divide by? The number next to the x. Good. So x is going to have a value of 7. All right, here's number 4. All right, we're going to highlight everything that has a letter or a variable. So here we have 2 y's. We can only have one, right? We can only have one thing highlighted, so we need to put these together. Does not matter which one you move over. I'm going to move over the 2, and this is a positive 2. What's the opposite of a positive 2? A negative 2. So I'm going to minus 2y on both sides. All right, that gives me 4y. You bring down the plus 8. 2's cancel out, minus 32. All right, I'm still going to highlight that y. So these two numbers are not highlighted, so we want to put those together. Again, do not move the 32 because then you won't have anything on the right side. So we have to move over the 8. We're adding 8. What is the opposite of adding 8? Subtracting 8. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. All right, we have 4y equals. Now remember, in the calculator, you need to enter this as negative 32 minus 8. First one's a negative, second one's a minus. All right, that's going to give us a negative 40. All right, let's divide by 4. And y is going to have a value of a negative 10. All right. All right, so let's look at the next one. So the next one, and again, we're just building off of everything we've done. So here we have a parentheses. Again, the number in front means that we have to distribute or multiply that by everything inside the parentheses. So 8 times q is 8q, and 8 times negative 5 is negative 40, equals 6q minus 20. All right, we're going to highlight the q's, and we're going to put them together. So I'm going to move over the 6q. That is a positive 6q. So what's the opposite of a positive? A negative. So I'm going to minus 6q on both sides. That is 2q minus 40 equals negative 20. And again, I'm going to highlight the letter or the variable. Same thing. Now we only have one highlighted, which is what we want. That means all the q's are put together. So what do we move over now? The negative 40, good. What is the opposite of, what's the opposite of subtracting 40? Adding 40, right? We're going to add 40 here. So we're going to add 40 to both sides. So 2q equals 20. Our last step, divide by the number next to the letter, which happens to be 2. Q is equal to 10. All right, last problem, not last step. Okay, so this one has double parentheses. It's the same thing. Gonna distribute first. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8a. This is negative 4 times negative 4. Negative times negative 4 times negative 4. Remember that a negative times a negative is always a positive. All right, now we'll do the 2. Ready? 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Make sure you carry the a. Make sure that if it has a letter, that letter goes with it, okay? All right, highlighting my variable. Always highlight the sign in front of it. So here I'm highlighting that minus sign because it's attached to that 6. All right, negative 8a minus 6a. I'm going to move my 6a over, and I'm subtracting 6a. So what's the opposite of subtracting 6a? Adding 6a. So we're going to add 6a to both sides. This is negative 2a. Again, negative 8 plus 6. Plus 16 equals, the only thing left is a 10. And again, I'm just highlighting the variable. That lets me know that all the variables are put together. So now what we need to do is we need to move over the 16. So I'm going to subtract the 16. We have negative 2a equals negative 6. All right, divide. Now what a lot of us were doing here, I foresee a lot of you dividing by 2. Make sure you put that negative with it. Okay, you will get 2 different answers. The answer here should be a positive 3. Okay, now when you're ready, we'll go to the next section. And on your paper, it's going to be on the right side. Okay, so on that side, we have the following directions. It says determine whether each equation has infinitely many solutions or whether it has no solutions. Check the appropriate box. Show all your steps. So we do want to see all your steps. Okay, so just solving for x, okay? So number in front, remember the number in front, we have to distribute. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18x. Negative 9 times negative 5, positive 45. Equals, we haven't done anything on the right side, so I'm going to bring the right side down. Okay, from here, we can highlight the variables. And you notice that there's 2 of those and 2 of the other ones, right? Doesn't matter which one we move over. I'm going to move over the 18. The opposite of subtracting is adding. Now, when I add 18 to both sides, what happens to my x's? They cancel out. Good. You're left with 45 equals 45. Is this a true or false statement? True. So when it's true, you're going to have many solutions. So when it's many solutions, this is true. And this is when you have infinitely many. So our answer here is infinitely many solutions. So if you want to add that up there, you can. Now, when it's a false statement, you have no solution. This is when your numbers are not equal. Okay? All right, so get the next one. So that 4, we're going to distribute. 4 times 3 is 12x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 2 times 6 is 12x. And 2 times 5 is a positive 10. Again, highlighting the variables. All right, I'm going to move 1 over. I'm going to subtract the 2x over, the 12x, not the 2x, 12x. And these cancel out, right? We're left with negative 4 equals 10. Is this a true statement or a false statement? A false statement. So how many solutions do we have? No solutions. Good. This one was false. This one was true. Okay? So same type of questions will be asked tomorrow. All right, let's go to the next one. So this is still on the front side of yours. It's at the bottom. Okay, we're going to go ahead and solve for x on these, okay? So we're just solving. So we're going to distribute the negative 2 in front. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 by negative 2, positive 4x. Good. We've done nothing with the 5x. We do need to distribute this positive 2. Positive 2 times 1 is positive 2. Positive 2 times negative 1, negative 1x. Okay, I'm going to highlight all my x's. And if you notice, I have multiple x's on the right side, right? I have 2 here. So what is 5x minus 1x? 4x. Good. All right, I'm going to bring down the 2, bring down the 4x, and the negative 2. All right, we're going to go ahead and correct Miss Carranza. I just realized that I put 1 there, which is not 1, right? What's 2 times? What's 2 times negative 1? Should be a negative 2. Should be a negative 2. All right, so we're doing 5 minus 2. What's 5 minus 2? 3. Good. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 to both sides. These cancel out. 4x equals 3x plus 4. All right. And if we're highlighting the variables, again, there's 2. You do not want to move the 4 over because then you'll have nothing here. Remember, you always want to keep something on one side of the equal sign. Each side of the equal sign needs to have something there. All right, so it's like a balancing act. We're going to move the 3 over. So what's the opposite of a positive 3? A negative 3. So x equals 4. All right, when you're ready, we'll do the right side. All right, looking at 9. So we do have to distribute twice. we're going to distribute negative 3 times negative 2, that's positive 6. Negative 3 times negative 4, that's positive 12x. And then this 5, we need to bring that 5x down. All right, on the right side, we're going to do the same thing. 7 times 3 is 21x. 7 times 2 is 14. All right, we're going to highlight all the x's, and we're going to put them together. On the left side, I have 5 and 12. Do we change the signs? No, because they're on the same side. So what's 5 plus 12? 17x. Bring down the 6, the 21x, and the 14. Okay, I'm going to highlight the x's again. All right, I'm going to move over the 17. What's the opposite of a positive 17? A negative, right? So I'm going to minus 17x on both sides. And we're left with a 6 here. This is 4x and 14. All right, I'm going to highlight the x again. And if you notice, now we have 1, which is what we want. So what do we move over? The 14, good. The opposite of adding is subtracting. So let's minus 14 on both sides. 4x equals negative 8. Our last step is to divide, and you divide by the number next to the x. X equals negative 2. All right, and when you're ready, we'll do the last 3. And for you, these are going to be on the back side. All right, so let's look at this one. Again, multiplying by the number in front. This is a decimal, but it's the same way. 0.25 times 4 is 1x. 0.25 times negative 8 is negative 2. Nothing happens with that first 5, but that second 5 has to be distributed. What's 5 times x? 5x. And what's 5 times negative 1? Negative 5. All right, I'm going to highlight all my variables, and there's only 2. Now, if you notice, there are 3 not highlighted. So we need to put these 2 together. What's 5 minus 5? 0. So you're just going to put 5x because the other 2 numbers canceled out, right? 5 minus 5 is 0. Okay, I'm going to still highlight the variables. A highlighter will be available if you need one for the test. All right, I'm going to subtract the x to put my x's together. I have 4x equals, this is a negative 2. So what a lot of us were doing is we're forgetting this sign. This is attached to my number. Good, so now our last step is to divide by 4. Now what some of us do here is we accidentally enter the numbers correctly. You read it from top to bottom. Negative 2 divided by 4. Negative 2 divided by 4. This should be negative 0.5. If we got negative 2, it's because you entered it wrong, okay? Always read it from top to bottom. Negative 2 divided by 4. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, still the number in front has to be multiplied. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 3, negative 15. Bring down your positive 2. Bring down the positive 12x. This is a negative 2. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8x. Negative 2 by negative 7, that's 14. All right, I'm going to highlight all my variables. All right, there's 3 of each. So let's look here. Let's put these 2 together. Negative 15 plus 2. What's negative 15 plus 2? Negative 13. Good. I'm not doing anything with my x's right now. All right, re-highlighting my x's. You notice that there's 2 on the right side. We need to put these together. What's 12x minus 8x? 12x minus 8x is 4x. Okay, I'm going to highlight the variables. I'm going to move over the 4x. So the opposite of a positive 4x is a negative 4x. So x minus 13 equals 14. Again, I'm highlighting the variable. The x's are all together. So now I need to move over my numbers. All right, what do I move over? Needs to be the 13. So let's add 13 to both sides. X equals 27. All right, we've got one more to go, class. Okay, last one. Reminder that, again, anything in front has to be multiplied. 8, or anything in front of the parentheses is what I meant to say. Anything in front of the parentheses, any number in front of the parentheses has to be distributed. 8 times 3 is 24x. 8 times 1, 8. I did nothing with 66. Positive 5 times 4 is positive 20x. Positive 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. All right, so I'm going to highlight the x's. If you notice, there's multiple numbers not highlighted here. These are like terms. So we're going to do 66 minus 30. 66 minus 30 is 36. And I'm going to bring down the 20x. I did nothing on the right side, so I'm going to bring that all down. Just bringing it all down. All right, I'm going to highlight my variables. All right, so I'm going to move over the 20. So I'm going to subtract 20x from both sides. So I have 4x plus 8 equals 36. All right, just like I did before, I'm going to highlight the variable. All the x's are together. So again, what do we move over? The 8. Now, what's the opposite of adding 8? Subtracting 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So I have 4x equals 28. And our last step is to divide. Good. All right, so we're going to divide both sides by 4. And our x has a value of 7. So please study tonight. It is your first test. Again, I'll have highlighters out. Please take your time. Again, but please study. So if you did not write the extra stuff I put on the last page, watch the video again. I'll have it in Schoology. Just please study, okay?